So it's no secret that eating meat has become somewhat of a societal norm. In fact, according to a study conducted by the Statista Global Consumer Survey in 2021, it was found that on average, 86% of people in 36 countries said that their diets contain meat. Now, one explanation for this high consumption of meat is the fact that it is absurdly cheap due to the fact that it can be produced very efficiently. But what we save monetarily, we will end up paying for in the future. More specifically, we will pay when the effects of climate change become irreversible due to the negative effects of animal agriculture. In fact, according to an article written by Humane Society International, scientific consensus shows that animal agriculture is responsible for about 14 to 16% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Not only this, but it also causes significant environmental degradation from biodiversity loss to deforestation. If we do not act collectively and soon, there will be significant changes to life as we know it in the near future. With that being said, today I will talk to you about the negative effects of animal agriculture. More specifically, though, I will talk about its implications to climate change and to the overconsumption of natural finite resources. I will also attempt to provide a solution to the problems presented. So without further ado, let's get into it. So first, we're going to talk about climate change and how it's currently impacting the world. So what is climate change? Climate change refers to climate change refers to long-term shifts in weather patterns and temperature. According to an article written by the United Nations, in 2021, it is stated that shifts in weather patterns and temperatures may be natural. However, since the 1800s, humans have been the main driving force of climate change. So, even now we're already seeing the effects of climate change, despite the narrative that climate change is a future issue. It's meant to be solved somewhere down the line. When in fact, this issue is as current as ever. Just this past decade was the warmest ever recorded, and since the 1800s, Earth has actually gotten 30 degrees warmer. It's like Fahrenheit, 30 degrees Fahrenheit. If this trend continues, if this increase in temperature continues, there will be a sort of domino effect of negative effects, considering that Earth is a system where everything is connected and it sort of works off each other. Researchers speculate that negative effects of climate change can include severe flooding, severe fires, rising sea levels, environmental degradation, melting ice caps, water scarcity, and there's more, but that's just to name a few. Okay, so now that we've sort of discussed climate change and how it's currently affecting us, let's sort of delve into what's causing this. Why is this happening? So what is causing climate change? Much of the world is focused on transitioning away from the use of fossil fuels so as to combat climate change. And while this is a step in the right direction, so to say, there is a major oversight on another one of the leading causes or leading drivers of climate change, that being animal agriculture. In fact, according to a report by the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, about 14.5% of greenhouse gas emissions can be attributed to the livestock sector annually. This figure is roughly equivalent to all the emissions from all the fuel burned by all the world's transport vehicles. That includes all boats, all cars, trucks, trains, planes. Now, the release of these greenhouse gases into the atmosphere creates a sort of warming effect that over a long period of time can cause everything I just previously mentioned, rising sea levels, drought, fire, all that stuff. Um, Not to mention that cows actually produce a methane gas in their digestive process that was found to be about 86% or 86 times more destructive to the atmosphere than the emissions that are given off from cars and vehicles of that sort. Um, in addition to its contribution to climate change and global warming, animal agriculture is also responsible for the degradation of land and the environment, and also to the overconsumption of resources, namely land and water. In fact, animal agriculture is responsible for about 34 trillion gallons of water per year. Also, livestock and animal feed is a significant cause of deforestation. Deforestation being the cutting down and clearing of a large amount of trees. In fact, according to an article written by Greenpeace, 80% of global deforestation is a result of animal agriculture, which is also the leading cause of habitat destruction. Now, when these trees are cut down, trees store carbon, and when they're cut down, they release that carbon in the form of carbon dioxide, which is a greenhouse gas, which, when it's released in the atmosphere, again, it causes that warming effect, which is destructive to the planet, as we mentioned before. Okay, so now that we're familiar with the problem that is climate change, and also with what is causing it, what can we do? Is there anything we can do? What can we as individuals do to sort of kickstart, reversing its effects, or just sort of impeding the process of climate change? Well, we can change to a vegan diet. Maybe not even vegan, maybe vegetarian, but just one where we don't consume meat. According to a study done by New Scientist magazine, each person can reduce the amount of greenhouse gases that his or her diet contributes to climate change by up to 60%. Now, removing the need for animal agriculture will help combat climate change in a domino effect way. As I mentioned before, there was a sort of negative domino effect. Just from the fact that Earth is a system where everything is connected, so it kind of goes the opposite way, right? So if one thing gets worse, everything gets worse. Conversely, though, if one thing gets better, everything else starts to get better. So the demand for animal products would be completely gone, as well as the supply of them. The feed previously used for the livestock, not only was it taking up a lot of space, but as I mentioned before, it was using about 34 trillion gallons of water. And now all that food, all the crops, instead of going to animals, we could use them to feed people in impoverished communities, or communities that are suffering from things like starvation. As I just mentioned, water consumption would be reduced greatly. Emissions of greenhouse gases would be reduced. No more cows, or less cows rather. And deforestation for agriculture would cease, meaning that that means less carbon dioxide released into the atmosphere, and there's more stored carbon here on the planet. In adopting a vegan lifestyle, we would also avoid the implications of climate change. So in conclusion, we have discussed animal agriculture and its implications to climate change. Although this issue cannot be resolved overnight, seeing how severe it is, it's imperative that we start taking the steps in the right direction, so to say, so as to preserve the health and well-being of our planet. Um, and now that you are more well-informed regarding the consequences of your diet, I hope you see to it that you make a change so as to serve the needs of the bigger picture. Thank you.